As a safety person, I would come in to say in Nigeria, we don't take safety serious.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Policy on the Go. Today, we turn our attention to the recent tragic tanker explosion in Jigawa, Nigeria, where we had over 140 lives lost and badly injured. And I think this again underscores the critical issues associated with petroleum product transportation and the safety of the environment. While accidents like this are not necessarily new, each instance raises urgent questions about both the immediate safety protocols and our long-term energy strategy, which is why we have here with us Adetula Victory Osiele, a health, safety, and environmental expert. And also joining us virtually from the program is Fahad Harazumi, who is lead Green Energy Hub all the way from Jigawa State. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Fahad. We have you over there in Jigawa State. So can you give us a brief description of what exactly happened when this tanker exploded? What caused this? And then what were the reactions of the people? And even now that it has passed, what's the situation there? Are things getting better? And the lives that have been lost and all of that, are they still on the road? I just bring us up to speed on the situation in Jigawa State where this tanker exploded.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Once again, I'm Fad Harazmi, the lead for Green Energy of Jigawa. What actually happened was there was this tanker that was passing. I don't know, maybe they said it was going to Bauchi State. And in Majia town, Taura local government, there were bombs on the road. Though the commuters there in Majia have been complaining about that particular route. They have been complaining that the road is not good and there are a lot of bombs on the road. Even the transporters, those that used to pass through the road, used to complain about the condition of the road. So on that very day, the tanker was passing around 11 p.m. in the night. The tanker was moving to Bauchi State according to reports. And on the roadside, there were lots of bombs, and then the driver was trying to cross the bombs, and eventually on the way, this tanker fell. And after the tanker fell, that it fell in the front of one secondary school and a police station at the same time. This one is a private primary and junior secondary school, and the other place is police station, just close to the roadside. And then from the report, some went there to see what happened. Some were there with buckets, jerrycans, and a lot of things to fetch from what happened, fetch from the petrol. So eventually they started fetching around 12 a.m. in the night, and this petrol started to slip around over 200 persons there at that particular moment, 12 a.m. in the night. I was fetching the petrol. And from the reports, one person came with an iron bucket. The iron bucket mistakenly crushed the roadside and then it ignited fire. So one thing that happened was the location that it fell was not exactly the location that the fire got caught, because it was a little bit some meters away where the people are taking the petrol to. It is inside their community that they're taking the petrol to. And then there was a farmland I think the farmland of corn, which was also dried, and there were a lot of bushes around. So it also triggers the fire in the community. Also, after taking this petrol to the community, some of these buckets are filled, or some of them are even leaking. So the petrol was leaking on the road to their houses. When what happened, the fire got caught, and the majority of them, because of the bushes around, the fire started following the bush and also the petrol, and also it leads back to the tanker. And this tanker is 45,000 liters, filled with petrol, 45,000 liters filled petrol tanker. Then it got burned and then started. So that fire started around 12 a.m. and stopped around 3 p.m. I'm sorry,
Wow.
3 a.m. according to the report. It stopped around 3 a.m. So 3 hours of fire. And also with the current situation, the management and the response team, we don't have enough facilities from the fire service to even quench the fire. And even if we have the facilities, we don't even have the manpower to go there and rescue people. One, and then secondly, situated in the capital logistics. Before they could travel to that particular location, it would take them not less than 1 hour, even if they are set to go there. And who knows if their machineries are serviceable, all these things are ready to go to quench the fire if things if need arise. So that was what happened. For 3 hours, this fire was, seriously catching in Maji. And in the morning, I was in my room around 6 a.m. when I received a call from the State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA. They called that there was an explosion of fire of fuel tanker in Majia and it got fire and what have you. Let's go and see the situation. Around 7:30, 7:40, maximum 6:30, 6:40, 7 a.m. we were at Majia community where we saw a lot of casualties. Majia houses got burned, people, properties, bikes, cars, and what have you. A lot of people's properties have got burned down in Majia as a result of that fire explosion. And also, we were able to track a record of 107 persons that had already died instantly there. At the rate of that, we have some numbers that were able to detect if this was actually human beings or
So, but before we go deeper, so what specific maintenance issues and challenges do you think caused this, considering the damage from this tanker explosion? What are the specific issues in terms of infrastructure maintenance that you think led to this particular situation?
Well, like I said earlier, the road is not really good, and people have been complaining about the road. That particular road, I think something happened from the report that I think 2 or 3 years ago, the car also was passing with a lot of food items, fell down close to that particular area because the
Oh.
road is not. There are a lot of corners around the place and there are a lot of bumps on the road. So that was exactly what led to the failing of that particular fuel tanker. That was exactly the situation. And as I'm talking to you now, the state government is doing everything possible to make sure that they have constructed another road that will link to that one, maybe to abandon that particular road.
Okay, so Adetola, we have you here with us. You know, when situations like this happen, it's usually the people in the community that bear the brunt of the environmental and the safety consequences that
Yes.
come with this. So how do you think we can address this? What reactive measures? Because it's not proactive anymore, it has happened. So now that this has happened, how can we address the safety concerns and pollution concerns that comes with these incidents that the people are currently facing?
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. So, as a safety person, I would come in to say in Nigeria, we don't take safety serious. And our government have not really looked into that aspect of safety. So, first, this incident has happened. We should actually look at the risk assessment first. So, the government will have to come in this to bring in environmentalists that will conduct risk assessment for that environment because the environment has already been polluted since this explosion happened. So explosion like this will bring risk to the environment. There's already a risk factor. So this risk factor will look at that's affected the soil, the air is polluted, the water is polluted, and we have animals that are also in that area. But this pollution has already affected the environment as a whole. How can the government come in with the environmentalists to I will use the word clean up. So clean up method has to come into place. Bioremediation has to come into place. We'll have to look at how we can educate people, let people be aware of the environmental hazard or the risks associated with the pollution that has already, oil spillage that has already occurred in that environment, and the preventive measures they can take because it has happened. So what preventive measures? How can they protect themselves from the pollution? For example, now if you look at what is happening in Port Harcourt, we have black soot. People are staying in Port Harcourt, people are living there, but they are actually seeing how they can manage the situation, live and work within that area. So this incident has happened in Jigawa already. How is the government coming in? What roles are they bringing in? Are they providing for the people? Like how are they coming in to assist these people? Because people have been affected. So now looking at them, we look at, okay, it mentioned something about infrastructure. If the roads were good, I'm very sure that this incident would not have happened. If people were educated, if people were aware that, okay, fine, a tanker has fallen. You're not supposed to go close to that tanker. You're supposed, everybody is, you're supposed to be like, immediately it happened, there's supposed to be an alert. Please move away from this area immediately. How about our incident response system? Do we have an incident response system immediately for people to come in to say, okay, this incident has happened. What are we going to do? People here, please evacuate from this environment. There is an hazard already. There's a threat to your life. But people are not aware of that. That awareness needs to be, people need to be aware about certain things like this because it affects everybody. It affects everybody. I really need to take note of that. So government needs to come in place to really make sure that first the environment gets cleaned up. They have to bring in safety measures by making sure that the people that are driving these tankers, are they educated? Do they even have their driver's license? Are they even trained? Do we have people that constantly they check these drivers? Because most of people driving these drivers, they do what they will use the word overload. Now you will see a tanker that is filled up, a tanker driver that is driving a vehicle that is with fuel, and the person is taking it down to maybe, let's say, from Abuja to far as much as, let's use Jigawa, and this person has to carry products. You're carrying product, and also because the driver wants to make extra cash for himself, he would want to carry more load, like farm products. And like, for example, I've seen people carrying baskets of tomatoes, goats, they load it on the tanker. This is overloading, which is not supposed to be so. We're not supposed to accommodate that. We're not supposed to allow that. And if you even look at it, we in Nigeria as a whole, we're still lacking, we're way back. We are backwards. Because in developed country, I'm not sure they move combustic materials on the road. They don't do that. You see people, you see developed countries, they move their own materials through, they use train. If not train, they use underground pipelines. Like in Saudi Arabia, they use underground pipelines where there is being monitored as the product is moving from this point to this point. They have people monitoring it. The same thing with Russia. Russia use train, which I've researched about. I'm very sure that, okay, this is how they do that. So our government has to see how they can stop movement of combustic materials like petrol, LPG, how they move these materials. We should stop moving it on the road. So that's where the government has to come in. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Mr. Fahad, she just spoke about exactly what the government needs to do as regards the situation. And as you know, after this incident occurred, the Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, actually mentioned that he was going to work towards a swift and a comprehensive review of the fuel transportation system across the state. So, what exactly do you think are the biggest gaps when it comes to fuel transportation? And what specific improvements do you think the government, the president at least, he has said he wants to work on it. So what specific improvements do you think he needs to work on to ensure that these incidents are minimized and in the long run, they don't even happen anymore?
Well, thank you very much. We have two things here. Number one is the president mentioning, ways to curtail or mitigate the happenings in the future or something. Well, the only thing we can do now is either we provide or they provide vehicles that can hardly, I don't know, vehicles that can hardly get fire or something, or maybe they should just find a means of transporting them probably through rails or something, maybe railway lines strictly for petrol transportation. But in as much as these things are passing through the normal commuters, the normal roads we have, definitely we are not going to take on these problems. Because these are roads that everyone uses every day. You have bikes, you have cars, you have people on the road, you have lots of things. And then
Exactly.
there are lots of issues that can happen to your particular car. Maybe sometimes you are moving, the engine can be able to, maybe the engine can knock down. Sometimes you have flat tires, you have lots of things, lots of issues that in as much as you are inside human beings or you are moving within the roads of human beings, then you cannot escape from this. The only thing I think can be done is probably to have their own way of transporting, probably to have rail which are strictly for this inflammable gases and liquid transportation. I think that's the only thing I think. Even at the state
Okay.
level, what we have discussed, even at regular meetings that we are holding, the only resolution is to come out with sending a memo to the government that I think we should have a particular way that these fuel tankers can be passing through so that they cannot be passing through human beings, and that is the only thing we can do.
Yes. So now let's even look at the response of the people in Jigawa State. How much would you say that, as much as we know that they were ignorant towards the dangers that came with this, how much will you say it's because of the economic hardship that, because when I read an article, someone said that this is not the first time something like this is happening, and when it happened, they didn't necessarily jump to get the spilled oil. But now, because of the situation in the country as regards oil especially, these people were desperate. So they were, and this led to dire consequences. So how much would you say that this is as a result of the hardship that people are facing in not just in Jigawa State, I mean in the country in general? So if this is the case, in what ways can the government address this situation in order to ensure that they support their citizens, to ensure that, this hardship does not lead to a desperate call that will now lead to dire consequences like this? So what alternative support systems can we put in place for these people, even in Jigawa State? Because we can tell that they're going through a lot. So what support systems can we put in place to ensure that desperation doesn't lead to, difficult situations like this?
Yes. We cannot all deny this fact. Yes, we understand that poverty is part of the reasons that led these people to taking the spilled oil. We understand that. But at the same time, there is what we call behavioral and human attitude. This thing has happened in Jigawa now, and I believe if it is going to happen in another state, people are going to be very very conscious because they have seen the result in Jigawa today. And those that happened to them in Jigawa, we understand they all have bikes. Some of them are doing the normal irrigation farming, petrol for their engines and machineries at the farm. Some wants to sell the petrol to get something so that they feed their families. We all understand that, but as we are putting our lives at risk, in as much as we are putting our lives at risk, then the tendencies of we having a better life future is very, very minimal. And at the same time, from the government side, yes, there is poverty. Poverty is really, really behind all of this. I didn't mean everybody is contented, or I didn't mean everybody is having what to eat, what to use. Your life is okay. You can take care of your family, your loved ones, and what have you. You don't have any reason to go close to that petrol and even thinking of maybe
Yes.
carrying. So at this junction, government should do human capital development. Human capital development in the sense that people should be given training on things to do, because if you come to Jigawa today, we are having, I think we are one of the poorest states in the country. If I'm not misquoted, we are one of the poorest states in the country, and efforts from government are not really matters. The effort is not really much. People are going through a lot, and I'm telling you this even in little videos that were going out during the fuel tanker explosion, or maybe fuel tanker spill. Most of these people that were burnt today or dead per se, in the video they were saying Benima, Benima. In Hausa we call it like how will I even put Benima? It's something that when something happened and then maybe you go out for a war and then you killed your opponent or something, and then the remaining things you pack on there is what they call Kulu. So it's basically people don't even understand that this thing is not for government. One value government properties, and people think maybe petrol, maybe government properties will let them go and park it, let them go and do stuff like that. And of course, government should do more in the aspect of helping people, bringing jobs, opportunities for people to, have one or two things to do in life. In as much as you are idle, the tendencies of you committing crimes, not only this business, it even affects them, not even the government per se. It affects them and their families. So if you are idle, the chances of you having a perfect mindset to think of way forward for your life is not even there. So government should do more in the aspect of assisting people. I could quote when the representatives of the federal government came in under the secretary to the state government, but they made mention of providing uh, jobs, capital disbursement to some of these people in Bajia and other local Jigawa, so that people can stand on their feet and have something doing in life. So if that promise can be fulfilled, I believe created from poverty, because poverty is really, really one of the major causes of this.
Yes.
And I don't know if what is the response. So far, what happened actually has caused a lot of views in Jigawa that everyone is really, really confused. Even the government, from the governor down to the last citizen in the state, everyone is not happy with the situation. And as I'm talking to you now, we have the Jigawa State Environmental Protection Agency, which is called SEPA. They are busy disinfecting the community, disinfecting the place of the accident, the place of the incident in Majia town. And that I can guarantee because I was part of the process. We visited that particular community more than 6-7 times after the incident, disinfecting the communities, doing awareness campaign in the communities, and a lot of things, so that people can understand that these things are there are ways you can better yourself. And also from the government side, there is this support, which I don't really see as something we can that are ill in hospitals. I'm quite sure government is taking the effort of giving them free medication, free drugs, taking care of the hospital bills, just to help the situation. And also those that are dead, we pray for Allah's mercy. But then their families are really, really serious situation. As I'm talking to you now, if you go and interview some of the family members of the deceased, the reports you'll be hearing from them is seriously alarming. They are not really going to good condition, because some of them have lost their parents, maybe husband, because 70 to 80% of those that lost their lives are dead. So if you look at the situation, out of the 70 to 80%, 80% as well are youths, teenage growing up between the ages of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So you look at the level of poverty, level of unemployment, that is what led this youth to go there. Had it been the youth are properly utilized, you will not have a situation where you are losing 100 youth at a blow because of fire, and most of them going there to just pack petrol from the spilled petrol from fuel tanker. So I believe poverty has played a vital role in bringing this situation. And for as long as proper solution from the government, I'm assuring you, we are not praying for this thing to happen, but if this can happen in another community, if not because we've seen these consequences, people will still go and take this thing because the poverty is still there, and they believe that if I pack this in and I sell maybe 10,000, 20,000 naira, I can be able to take care of something that's bothering me or my family. So the government should do more in assisting people, providing jobs, disbursing capital, what we call vocational training skills and what have you. People should learn things in life, give them capital. But then what the government is all about, we're concerned about, is making these young boys political pawns. Once they are not important to them, call that they are useless. Once they come in time, they'll just call them, give them, cutlasses and what have you, just to go and fight for them. After they won the election, they will pack their things and go back to the That's the end of it. So we have been doing this orientation with National Education Agency in Jigawa on what people should do. People should know their rights. Because sometimes it's you not even doing your right, and it's even leading your politicians to go and do this process. Why will you vote for someone and allow that person to go to Abuja for God knows? And then when he feels okay, it's time for election, he'll now come back and give you money, give you drugs and what have you to go and fight for. Do we even have sense? So virtually all these things now are and for as long as we continue to live like this, like I said earlier, the tendencies of we having changed is very, very minimal. I want to use this opportunity to say because I am a citizen of Jigawa State and I love my state and I'm proud of my state, but we have a lot of issues with regards to education and literacy. A lot of our people are halfway educated, so you don't even know yourself, you don't even know your rights, you don't even know what to fight for, you don't even know who to fight for. So these are some of the problems we are facing. You can imagine during this incidents, some of these people that were at the hospital, when we visited them, someone was even shouting. The governor was at his head. That person was shouting, governor. He was like, governor, Allah, I was like, wow, you are in this condition because the governor has come to visit you. You are still chanting the governor. So you see the level of literacy is really low, and that's why people are
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. We'll get to more of that. But I want to ask you, Adetola, we have you here with us as an HSC expert that you are, now that this has happened and we've seen there's been an environmental fallout and environmental consequences, like he said something about disinfecting. So what specific measures can we take to address the impact of the environment in order to rejuvenate like you said, soil has been lost and all of that. So what specific measures can be taken to ensure that the pollution and even health-wise, because a lot of people would have fallen sick from this incident and all of that. So what can be done to be able to restore how much that has been lost in terms of environment and safety?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, in this case, the government, like you said, you mentioned that the government presently has to bring in people, let me say, environmental experts that are actually doing cleaning up there. Because cleaning up is more like remediation. So remediation process has to occur to be able to disinfect, like you said, disinfect the environment that has been polluted. But aside from that, we also have to we'll look at the earth part. The air is polluted, the water there. I'm very sure if you go to the stream or the rivers around, you would notice pollution. So that brings us to the environmental expert coming in to do their job. So environmental expert from the government has to employ environmental expert to come in to do their job. So with them doing their job, it's going to help to clean up the polluted environment, to see how they can curb what has happened and see how we can reduce the effect on the environment, on the people, and everyone around.
So let's take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll look more into how we can approach the building of a sustainable energy infrastructure in order to curtail these incidents that we see consistently occurring. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. So now let's continue the conversation. Okay, so now looking at the damages that the use of this fossil fuel cause as regards its transportation and usage, how urgent do you think it is for us to make a shift towards the use of renewable energy sources as a means of transportation?
Well, yes, we really need to do that. And I feel we should have done that way back because it's something that developed countries have really done. Developed countries have really gone into renewable energy. So I'm still surprised that, okay, Nigeria, we are still practicing or we are still using fossil fuel. And we going into renewable energy is really going to help us in the terms that it's going to reduce the environmental pollution drastically.
Yes.
In the sense, aside from that, it's going to still help us when it comes to our health. Because if the air is polluted, if the water is polluted, if the soil is polluted, at the end of the day, the soil will plant food, we get food from the soil, and you and I, we eat, we feed on it.
Yes.
It's definitely going to affect our health. So at the end of the day, it still boils back to us. So in the sense, it's very easy for we to say, once we move to renewable energy, all this, we won't be seeing environmental pollution. It will be reduced drastically. So there's really an urgency for the government to really go into renewable energy in the sense of bringing in solar, hydropower, CNG. Yeah. So of course we know a little, or let me say much about CNG now, because the government now have really tried their possible best. Because in Abuja presently, I would say the government commissioned 5 stations, 5 CNG stations,
Yeah.
NNPC stations, which I was part of the project, the CNG project. And they have a station now that you can actually go and convert your vehicle, petroleum vehicle, to CNG. You can convert it at a discounted price. So people really need to be aware of how we can move from.
What's the discounted price of this?
Oh,
Because
well,
I think I saw that it was about $600 to convert.
No. I'm not sure. I think people are saying, let's say from that 600, 500,000, 500 to 600,000.
So how is that? I mean, how can the common man get to do that?
Well, that's the problem. I would really say the government has to really come in to really bring this price down, like, or maybe,
Exactly,
or make
because
it
we're just
free to
starting this
people.
up. Exactly,
Or
that's
make
what
it
I
free to
expected.
people, because
this is just an initiative that's starting up.
Yes.
So it would be very good if it was more cost effective and cost efficient, especially considering that we're in a time where fuel prices are crazy. Some people would rather walk than make use of their cars. So it would have been much better if they made this a better cost alternative. But it seems like we don't actually have that. So because if this is the price to convert it, that's why I asked what the discounted price is, because the price I saw online now, it was crazy. So I'm like, how can the common man even do this? If we're saying, this will be much cheaper than fuel and all that, how would they even be able to convert in the first place?
A common man is even finding it very difficult to even eat 3 square meal presently in Nigeria. So how will a common man probably raise 500,000 to convert his or her vehicle to CNG? So it's really a major problem we have in Nigeria. Even people are really trying as much as possible to even see how to even take themselves to work, because most of the companies are folding up since the whole economy problem, because it's really a big problem for us. Since the whole problem is more like, as we are trying to survive and we feel okay, we are balanced in this stage. The next thing, there's another increase in fuel price. And once there's increase in fuel price, immediately you are seeing the prices of commodities, food commodities, prices of everything keeps going up, and there's no control. So it's really a very big problem that the government has to really look into. Just like the way they made health, the health sector, at least you can get free health. We have primary health cares in the country, across the country. You can get free medical service. So government can actually make the CNG free, or will I say discounted to the extent that, let's say, something less than 100,000 for people to be able to afford and convert their vehicle to CNG. But there was one question someone asked me. Someone said, okay, just as the way we are buying fuel at 1,000, 1,213 per liter, and I decide to convert my own vehicle to CNG, and I'm buying CNG like, let's say, 300 per liter. What is the assurance that government will not still increase this CNG price just as the way the petrol is going up? I could not answer the question. So that is where Nigerians are really scared at this stage, because not like some Nigerians cannot afford the money. Some that are living above the average, as average Nigerians, they can actually afford to convert their vehicle to CNG. But the main question is, if the price will definitely go up. So if I buy CNG today at the rate of 300 per liter, what happens tomorrow? What happens in the next 1 year? What happens in the next 2 years? So these are, how will I say, places government have to really come in, like, to give us that benefit, to like, let's have that trust that, okay, if we are going to convert our vehicle to CNG, the price has to be regulated. It has to be pegged at, okay, if it's 300 per liter, I'm buying CNG at 300 per liter, it's going to be pegged at that price. But whereby the price keeps fluctuating from today, is 300, tomorrow it's already 500, like that. It's not going to encourage people to move from fuel, that's the petrol we are buying, to CNG. That's moving from petrol to renewable energy. It's not going to encourage us. And also, I would even say the government if they can bring in more or produce electrical vehicles.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I've seen electrical vehicles in Abuja working perfectly okay. And it's interesting, it's actually cool. The experience is nice, but we have not really accepted that into our system. So government have to see ways of bringing in more electric vehicles, establishing more charging stations for them.
Yeah.
And in the charging stations, we have to see how safety has to come in place, because if I'm going to charge my electric vehicle, what are the safety measures that have been put into place? And also educating people the importance to make use of these electric vehicles. And also the batteries, because there's, how will I say, the batteries that are being used, definitely with time, it's going to get bad. And we have to look at how we can convert the vehicle into something that, like, still continuously renewable. Yes. So the batteries that we're going to be using for the vehicle, and I would say for these electric vehicles, it's not cheap. It's expensive.
Yeah.
So government have to see how they can subsidize the price. So government really has a long way to, I would like to say, we have a long way to go in terms of we accepting or we moving from fossil fuel to renewable energy. We have to, there's gap.
Yeah.
The gap is really wide. So I don't really know how the government, they're going to come in to really close up this gap in no time.
Okay. So thank you so much. So Mr. Fahad, back to you. Like, we're speaking now on the use of renewables and all of that. And now there's the question of how we can approach the building and developing of this infrastructure, for a more sustainable means and even a more cost-effective means of transportation that will reduce these issues that we have with fossil fuel usage and the damages it causes. So the question now is, in what way can the government approach, not even just the government, even we the people, because the government, they're trying. We can't say they're not doing anything at all. We've seen some of their efforts towards this. So even we as people, as citizens, in what way can we approach the developing and the building of a more sustainable energy infrastructure in order to minimize the incidents and the damages that come with use of fossil fuel, especially as regards the transportation system?
Okay, thank you very much. I just have to say two things here. Number one is in a situation where the government, the GDP, now Nigeria's GDP now is solely dependent on petrol. And for this government to solely abandon or bring any other thing that would take petrol down, that would be a serious fight. One. And then secondly, we as the citizens, if truly we are ready and we are, worried and concerned about this fossil fuel, we have every right to advocate for this. We have every right to advocate because we have a lot of people that have what it takes. Like she rightly said, they have what it takes. We have what it takes to, campaign for the government to understand our plight and do the needful in this area. But I'm assuring you, the government is not really ready. Let's be real. Let's be realistic and let's be frank. The government is not really ready to bring down everlasting and sustainable solutions toward this problem. We all understand, we all know that the best thing to do in
That why would
Nigeria
you say
today,
that the government is not ready to do something in
yeah,
terms of that aspect?
the reason why I said government is not ready because government is getting money, generated revenue from this petrol, from this fossil fuel. And now tell me if we are converting our engines to this renewable energy, what have you, generator power sources, what have you. What exactly is going to benefit from that? I understand the priority of every government is its citizens' welfare and protection, but looking at the situation in Nigeria, with the current situation that we don't have money, we don't have money, we don't have money, we don't have money, and then we are thinking that okay, maybe if the government is converting this to this rate and this, that there has to be a subsidized rate of something, there has to be a fixed price for something. When the government is not benefiting from it, I'm assuring you the government will. Example, now they just mentioned that I think 2 or 3 days ago that NNPC has increased the price of fuel at the NNPC filling station, which is the government-owned filling station. That they have increased the price of fuel. That okay, the government is complaining that the revenue generated is not even much to take care of the country. Now let's be realistic on this. If we are trying to abandon this thing for the betterment of all, it's just the best thing. If we, the citizens, can take charge of converting these things without maybe with little support of government, we can do it and it's the best for us. But I'm assuring you, the government at this point in time will not. I don't know, but the government will be very hard for the government to, consider things of this nature because it will bring down the little revenue of the government. I'm excited at the little revenue because I know that is what they use to run the government, that is what they use to run the country and what have you. And if they don't have that, because they have abandoned all other sectors, concentrating fully on them now in this country, we've abandoned all these sectors. I don't know if the story is real or fake that the River State governor has locked down something and there is difficulty in accessing fuel and what have you. So you look at the country where we are fully dependent on petrol. Now we have abandoned all other sectors. Had it been the country has other sectors, put other sectors in place of the related revenue for the country to grow, maybe in the sectors of agriculture, trade, communication, commerce, and what have you, and maybe petrol is part of the sectors that we are dependent on, we can be able to change. But as a situation where the country is solely dependent on petrol, I don't see any way the government will adopt to this thing easily. Even if they will do, there must be other effort put in place in other sectors to promote other sectors before they can be able to do this. So the best thing to do is, before we consider this first, we have to advise and teach the government that yes, we understand that this thing is going to be very difficult for the government to do, and as citizens we are suffering from this petroleum, if not for the cost or expense of this petroleum, but for our lives and security. These are two things: our lives, our security, our safety, and personal health, but also the expense, the cost of this fossil fuel and what have you. The government should please try as much as it can to venture into other sectors of the economy, to maybe have other generated revenues from other sectors, not only fuel. Because if you look at what the fuel is generating, I'm using this as an example. Jigawa State now, my state, we are, solely dependent on agriculture. 80% of the citizens are dependent on agriculture. So you can't tell me that Jigawa should just bring something different and abandon agriculture. It's not possible. So we have to first of all put other measures in place to generate more money from other sectors so we can consider this. I'm assuring you, if the Federal Executive Council today are sitting on this, the first question that will come is, okay, if we are to convert the fossil fuel to this renewable energy, CNG, what have you, what other sectors are put in place to get money, even if not up to what we are generating from the fuel, but at least something that can take care of the expenses of government. So to me, first of all, we need to advocate for other measures to take care of other sectors. One, if these sectors are put in place, are fully operational, yes, the government can think of considering the renewable energy as another alternative source of energy or source of movement or for vehicles and other transportation means. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So looking at what they can do differently as regards other sectors, what specific policies and implementation measures can be taken? Because I believe we actually do have policies that are laid down for this, but the problem is implementation measures. So what can they do differently to push for, like we were even just talking about use of electric vehicles. So now looking at a gradual shift towards electric vehicles, what specific measures can we adopt as regards policies for us to push towards the use of a sustainable transition towards this particular sector?
Like I made mention earlier, it's easy for the government to adopt this. It's very easy for the government to adopt this. And we are all governed by constitution, policies, and what have you. Nobody is above the law, nobody is above the law. In as much as the government, is I don't even know. In as much as the government is happy with the situation, in as much as the government is ready to support or ready to venture into the situation, then it's very easy for we the followers to follow. That one we are always followers who always follow. So the best thing here is the government have to look into the policies of agriculture. I am emphasizing because I know agriculture and what agriculture can take, not only petrol. If the government has agreed to venture into other sectors of the economy, generating more resources from other sectors of the economy, then the policies can be put in place now to, okay, let's start gradually converting ourselves into this renewable energy. But as it stands now, there is no policy that is going to work because the government does not have any alternative source. Like we are shouting now, we want to have alternative source. We want to have alternative source. So the governments who want to have alternative source of generating income, that alternative source has to be put in place before any policy can work. That's just it. If the government has agreed to venture into other sectors. Example now, there was this proposal that the government is trying to cultivate 100,000 hectares of wheat, which Jigawa said is given 60,000 hectares of land to cultivate. We have the hectares of land which is in Jigawa, but come to this hectare of land, nothing has been done. Nothing. They just came in, they started implementing the flag of ceremony, what had they spend money on, they flew back to Abuja, and nothing has been done in the place. They've called a lot of farmers to come and start farming so that the government can help farmers with improve variety of seeds, drought tolerant seeds, drought resistant seeds, lot of improved and genetically modified seeds that can grow in this area. But the essence is the government wants to use the manpower of its citizens to cultivate so that the government will have enough and more than enough food to sell and generate something from it. But then nothing has been done so. In as much as we don't invest in other sectors, this power generation or conversion to the CNG is going to be a difficult one. It's going to be a very difficult one because another source has to be provided before you go into another source. If you are doing it, you have to have another, alternative generating power before you go into another source. That's what I can say. I can say actually on this.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. Fahad, you've contributed a lot to the program. Can we just get your final words of takeaway before we round off the program on just the situation and what message you want us to take away from this and what more we need to see and the people of Jigawa State especially want to see after this incident that has occurred?
The last thing I can say on this is, first of all, thank you very much for having me. To tell the public that whenever things like this happen, it's very, very important that we consider our own personal security, our personal safety first before anything. If anything of such should happen anywhere, don't just go. Please try as much as you can to compose yourself, calm yourself, be at the same place, don't even go anywhere. And then secondly, from the government side, government should do more in alleviating people from poverty. Try as much, the government should try as much as it can to provide jobs, skills acquisition, capital to people and what have you, and also to advocate. You at the group, what we want you to do is to please advocate to people on the issues of emergency response and management of emergency cases or emergency in any community. This emergency is not only uh, uh, fire incidents or fire hazards or what have you. Have different cases of emergency that people need to put their safety and lives first. And finally, in Jigawa, we have what we call the response strategy. These people are responding to treatment, those in hospital are responding to treatment, and some of them are even discharged as we speak now from the hospitals to their various houses because they are getting better. All thanks to Allah and thanks to the government of Jigawa State and citizens for their constant prayers. Thank you very much. I'm Fahad Harazmi from Bring Energy Hub Jigawa State.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fahad, for joining us on the program. We appreciate it. So now let's round off with you. From just finally, from the HSC perspective, just give us a better understanding of as regards public awareness, what more can we do to ensure that people are aware of more of the damages and the consequences as well as the dangers that come with fossil fuels spillage, when we have oil spills and all of that. What better can we do to sensitize the people and as well advocate for sustainable energy practices within the community? So what more needs to be done in that aspect? Just give us your final thoughts on that.
Okay, I would say we have to look into having educational campaign. So we have campaign, strategic campaign that will talk about safety and the importance of safety and how we can move from fossil fuel to renewable energy and why it is necessary. And also, we have to see how we can partner with NGOs that have to come into bringing this awareness known to people, to sensitize people. Trainings and workshop has to be carried out. People have to know that, okay, it's important for us to transit from fossil fuel to renewable. And why is it important? And why is it that we have to accept that? And the safety involved. So aside from that, we also have to spread our message or people to be in the know. The awareness has to be social media too. So our social media platforms, how are we spreading this message? How are we sensitizing people, making people to be in the know of the importance of we transitioning from fossil fuel to renewable energy and the safety involvement around it. And in schools, do we teach safety? We don't. So we really have to bring in this awareness, this campaign, down to the school, even down to the church, the mosque. Do we practice this? If you ask a layman, he doesn't know what is safety. And even few of us, or few persons that even know what is safety, do they even practice it? Do people practice safety in their homes? So these are sensitization programs we really have to come up with, campaigns and talk shows like this, sensitizing people around the importance of moving from fossil fuel to renewable energy and safety in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. All right, and that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for joining us on yet another episode of Policy on the Go. From today's discussion, I think one key thing we need to look into is the urgent need for safer fuel transportation and, of course, better HSE protocols towards a shift of renewable energy. Like our experts have shared, addressing these issues requires not only infrastructure improvement, but also a long-term commitment to sustainable energy solutions that protect both the community and the environment. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm Tonya Gubanjo. Till next time, do take care of yourself.